All right, guys. So today we got the rustic stew that chef is going to be preparing. It is. Let me read the ingredients because I definitely don't didn't memorize them. We have. Wait, no, what's in it? Because you're going to make the rustic vegan Irish stew.
Yeah, with an orange gremolata.
I don't know what that is, but it sounds good.
There's carrots, turnips, rutabaga, parsnips, red potato. In the gremolata, there's orange zest, garlic, parsley, olive oil, and sea salt.
All right, thanks, Lori. Everyone, welcome Lori, our dietitian here, along with Chef Jason. See, she gives us all the good info. And then we also have the vegan zucchini quesadilla.
No.
Or just the rest.
We have a green goddess Gouda vegan grilled cheese, and we have a feel good Shamrock shake.
All right. All right. Well, I'm curious about all of those. So let's see what you can make happen, Chef.
Let's see what we can do. I mean, it is March, and so we have just entered into well, normally, typically it'd be March Madness, but it probably has been some madness though, because last year this time it was madness. But anyway, we want to help integrate some. The 17th, of course, is St. Patrick's Day, and an ode to Irish culture. And so a lot of the recipes we're going to make tonight are going to actually kind of give you some ideas for your upcoming St. Patrick's gatherings, or just even within your own house. So some fun ways to be able to do that, but nutritionally. So we're going to start with the Green Goddess Gouda vegan cheese. And the reason is, yes, you can purchase actually now. I'm actually happy to see this in a lot of the stores now, that they are carrying more varieties of vegan cheese. And so, Laura, I don't know if you've noticed that. I think as more people are being on to take on more plant-based diets and plant-based lifestyles, I guess a lot of the food producers are trying to advertise more and market more to those people. So I remember being in the store the other day and seeing that there's actually Gouda sliced vegan cheese and mozzarellas and cheddars and all kinds of stuff. So I was like, maybe just a few years back here, you didn't have this many options. So
that is for sure. I think it's amazing. I actually was in a Whole Foods earlier today, and I was taken back by that section. It's tripled.
Yes. Yeah. I'm like, okay, wow. And so at least lets people know that these food producers are hearing you and wanting to make sure that you're serving. But we want to be able to show you how, one, if you can't go out to the store and get one, but you can produce this right at your house. And a lot of the ingredients, these ingredients you can typically find right at home. I think there may be one or two that may not be easy for you to have, but an easy way for you to make it yourself. We always say this, that a lot of times when you're able to make something yourself at home, you're able to control the nutritional value of it compared to something that's already produced and packaged at the store. So it allows you to have that control to exercise the different nutritional ingredients, the sodiums, the sugars, whatever the case may be. And so this, you'll be able to make an easy vegan cheese right in your own food processor or blender. So, yeah. And this is just going to have a fun play on it. We call it Green Goddess because it's going to have some fresh herbs in it, your parsley, basil. So that's going to give us a really great color, but it's also going to really give it a great flavor along with the smokiness. So no smoked paprika in this, but there's a little smoke. I'm biased to anything smoked, evidently. So it'll still be really good. And to be honest, smoked Gouda is probably one of my favorite cheeses outside of Asiago cheese. I love a good smoked Gouda. So this will be exciting to have this smoked Gouda vegan cheese. So with that being said, we'll get started. The easiest thing about this recipe is that pretty much everything just goes in the food processor or your blender to get it going. We've made vegan cheese before in our blender or food processor. We're just making it what I would call a different variety. So I know we've made a vegan cheese out of cashews before. I know we've made a vegan cheese with carrots and potatoes and some nutritional yeast before. So this time we're going to make a Gouda starting with some navy beans because they're white. So we're going to make a white cheese today in a sense. So we're going to start with some navy beans. Some northern beans. So if you have northern beans, navy beans, some cannelli beans, any type of white bean will work in this recipe. So we're going to add those to our, then we have a little lemon juice. Of course, the lemon juice, that citrus is going to help balance everything out. Some apple cider vinegar we'll add in there, and in this recipe, all the measurements, of course, will be in the recipe that you can find on the site. Some nutritional yeast. Nutritional yeast is that which is going to give it kind of that cheese flavor. And Lori, I've seen nutritional yeast in a lot of different things anymore. So, whether you're making eggs or whether you're making cheese or whatever, when it comes to vegan options.
It is everywhere. I think because it's such a nice, easy way to stay vegan, yet add protein, and it's full of antioxidants. So it's really redeeming in regards to not only flavor, but nutrients. So we know that the antioxidants, the kind of like specific ones from nutritional yeast, they protect against oxidative damage. And so, when you think about lowering your chronic risk disease, that's a really easy, helpful way to do it. I see people sprinkle it on salads.
Yeah.
Because it has like a nutty, cheesy, it's reminiscent of cheese in itself, and it's nutty, a little bit nutty. I like it. It lowers cholesterol when the same antioxidant profile helps to keep your cholesterol or your blood lipids in line. And it's been involved in some studies. It looks like it helps boost immunity because same antioxidant profile. So it's a good thing to include, and most people really like it.
And I like the fact that you said that you can use it even like if you just sprinkle on, a salad or something like that, because these flakes, really can be a great benefit, and it's packed with so much nutritional value. I mean, why not sprinkle it on a little bit of everything? So what I've added in here, I've added in some almond milk, unsweetened, of course, unsweetened almond milk, your white beans, nutritional yeast, a little bit of smoke, liquid smoke to give us that little smokiness. I've added in garlic, a little bit of cayenne, because when building flavors, you'd like a little bit. Now, if you can't handle any heat, then you can definitely omit that. It's not going to throw the whole thing off, but I think it just creates a little bit of balance when you have kind of that little background-ness to it. And then we're going to add 2 starches to that. And I know Lori can tell us more about these, but we're going to add some cornstarch. We know cornstarch helps as a thickening agent, and tapioca starch, which also you can find in a lot of baking if you're trying to utilize vegan, or if you're trying to utilize kind of clean baking, you can use a tapioca starch. Like I said, you can use tapioca starch or cornstarch to help as a thickening agent for soups, gravies, or baked goods. In this case, we're going to use both of these to help set our cheese.
Yep. Yeah, both are gluten-free. So it's tapioca is in a lot of gluten-free products. It's very versatile. Works really well, actually. Did you already put the beans in?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, I kind of missed that, but I didn't miss it. I mean, I kind of heard you, but I wanted to say a little bit about the beans. Of course, I'm big on fiber and having that guide your choices. 7 grams of fiber and a half a cup and 118 calories. So a good source of fiber and protein, 8.3 grams of protein. So so this cheese, this vegan cheese is really got a lot of helpful components to it.
Then we got a little fresh parsley. We'll add that because that's our green. And then we have some fresh basil. So the herbaceousness, the basil and the parsley, they're going to, like I said, I mentioned before, they're going to give it some great color. But then, of course, with both of these, it's going to add a really nice flavor to this. Now, once again, if you're just making, you want to just make vegan smoked Gouda cheese, then you don't have to include the parsley and the basil in this. You can leave that out and just have your, but we're kind of adding, and then, but also, Lori, parsley gets a bad rap.
It does.
It doesn't have any flavor. It doesn't have anything, like, it's just good as a garnish. But is there any value nutritionally for parsley?
Yeah, all the way around. Really good source of magnesium, some of those minerals that we have to have from multiple sources. And parsley is a great source. Plus, it works kind of like a bitter in regards to digestion. It gets your enzymes primed. So it's nice to start a meal with that so that you have a more complete digestion and hopefully less symptoms of indigestion.
See, it all works out.
Yeah.
So we have everything, all the kids are in the pool, everything's in the food processor, and we're just going to puree this up to it's nice and smooth. And then we're going to put it in a pot just to warm it. And the reason we have to do this is because that helps to react the cornstarch and tapioca starch, because both of those only react once you kind of at a boil or you bring up to temperature. That's a chemical reaction that happens. That's where the thickening comes in. So once we're going to blend that all together, but then we'll put it in a pot to heat it to get everything reacting.
And so I don't know if everyone saw the actual recipe for this, but what Chef is putting together, he's going to form into a mold that looks kind of like a loaf. And then he will slice that and then put it into like the grilled cheese. So in case you're a little confused on how this is going to come together, construct.
So the thing is you're like, all right, it's a puree. What's going to happen there? We are making cheese. So by us pureeing everything up, we're going to warm it so that it thickens, and then you refrigerate it so that it's able to set, and then you're able to, we're going to do the spreadable version. If you were to make a log where you can cut slices, you would have to have some agar, which is another type of thickening reactive agent that helps to solidify things. Unfortunately, Giant Eagle didn't have any agar, and so it can be maybe difficult to find. That's why if you don't have it, don't worry about it. You still make the cheese; it'll still set. It'll be more of a spreadable cheese, which may be easy. And
Right.
Who doesn't mind that on a piece of toast?
Yeah, that might be better. It would be more convenient. Probably use it more readily.
Exactly.
Yeah.
More readily available. So I have my pot over here warmed up. It's nice and all pureed down. And we'll just add everything into the pot. Nice and smooth. If you notice, we didn't put any salt in here or any sodium. The recipe calls for a chickpea miso, because that's where your sodium really is going to come from. And the reason it's a chickpea sodium is if this is vegan, or if you have any type of soy, sensitivities. Couldn't think of the word, sensitivities. You use a chickpea miso, and there actually is a product. They don't have it at Giant Eagle, but I can't tell you where they have it. But if you don't have any soy sensitivities or allergies, then you could use a little teaspoon of regular miso. Like I said, that's just adding some sodium to it. Because miso is typically made out of soybeans. Mm-hmm. Like that quickly, by me just putting it over this light flame, it's already started to thicken up. It's already started to really become almost like I don't want to say a solid, but it's really thickened up just that fast.
I think this recipe is awesome to like make and have on hand.
Yes.
You don't like, we're going to make grilled cheese, but you don't have to do that. You could use this any way that you would use any kind of spreadable cream cheese or any other kind of cheese. But you're going to have a ton of more nutrients and a lot more fiber, which is what your digestive tract likes and your immune system. So this would be something to have on hand.
So I'm just making sure I keep it stirred because you want to keep it nice and light textured, and like literally as I'm stirring it and as it's heating, because now that cornstarch and that tapioca starch, they're reacting and everything is starting to solidify. So then once it gets to that and you refrigerate it for a little while, then it will set. It will become a solidified. And like I said, we can make it as a spreadable cheese. You can still make it as a grilled cheese.
Yeah.
Hey, Jason,
Yes.
could you have used the clear gelatin instead of agar-agar? Because the agar-agar
Well, you have to
functions
be
the
careful with
same.
gelatin because gelatin is actually still made out of some gelatin's made out of pork product.
Yeah.
But you're talking about clear gelatin.
You could, if you didn't mind that it was no longer vegan.
Right. It would not make this vegan anymore.
Okay.
Yeah. But as long as that it's not, that's not always a concern for everyone. I think that would work, don't you, Chef?
Yeah, I think it would, because like I said, that's the same thing agar-agar would do. But you use agar-agar because it keeps it vegan. Oh, wow. This is great. And so it's becoming nice and thick, which is right where I want it. So literally, you just keep it on here for about 4 to 5 minutes as you see it thicken up, but then you can just pour it in a dish, cover it with some plastic, and then put it in the refrigerator for an hour or so and let it cool down, let it solidify, and then spread it. So I'm going to do that. It's nice and thick now. Let it all react. Then we're going to put it in a refrigerator. We're going to do the other ones, and then we'll come back and show you. I got some nice gluten-free, dairy-free bread, and we'll toast it, put it on there. You can add some vegetables if you want to add some bean sprouts or some tomato or anything like that, and have a really nice sandwich. And you don't have to feel guilty about it.
Right. Definitely. So, Chef, what brand bread are you going to use that's dairy free and gluten free?
It is called, I can't even pronounce it.
Oh, Shars.
Char.
All right, good. All right, cool.
So it is an artesian white bread made with ancient grains. It's non-GMO, dairy-free, wheat-free, and egg-free.
Yeah, that's going to make a lovely grill. I've used that brand before. It's nice. It's a little pricey.
Yes.
Was that loaf $6 or $7?
It was about $4. Well, it was marked down.
Oh, okay, good.
So I got a deal on it.
Good.
How do you spell that?
SCHAR. So I think regular price is like $4.99.
Okay.
All right.
Char-
So
Oh.
I wish you could see it's nice and thick. I have it in a bowl here, so we'll put it in the refrigerator. I'll probably put it in the freezer so it can cool down quick and start to solidify. And then we'll see and make a sandwich once we're done.
One thing I don't know if anyone's interested, but in that brand, the bread that's Shars, they make a lot of other types of breads. If you're looking for something beyond just a sliced loaf, they do dinner rolls and something that looks like a baguette.
I have seen.
Yeah, so like if you're keeping gluten free, but you'd like some variety in the form of your bread, that's a good brand to explore.
All right. Now we're going to go to our stew.
Okay.
With that sandwich, that vegan sandwich, and this stew, you could literally have a guilt-free lunch. And it's all full of plenty of vegetables and nutrients and fibers. Like between that sandwich, this stew, you can't, I mean, it's going to be filling.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't realize, hey, I just ate a bunch of vegetables,
Right.
the sandwich included, and grain, you know, nice, rich grains. So
It's awesome.
healthy, but filling, comforting, especially this time of year. Well, I don't know. This is Ohio, and it was 50-something degrees yesterday, and it was 3 inches, 5 inches last week. So, but we're still considered winter. So,
Yeah, it's pretty unpredictable. Now I am in Sarasota, and I hate to tell y'all, but it's 75 and sunny and not a cloud in the sky. I'm not trying to make anybody feel bad. So
not at all, Lori. Not at all.
I hate it when my parents are here and they call and they say, we're hot. And it's like February. I say to them, that's rude. You shouldn't say that to others that are in Ohio. But I love this stew. Like, you know me, these 3 things right here redeem this stew to me: turnips, rutabaga, and parsnips.
Yes. So,
Love
I
it.
mean, it can be kind of overwhelming to some because they may look at it and say, it's a lot of ingredients. But I mean, it's really easy. It's a really easy soup because the one thing I love about soups in the wintertime or fall and making soups and stews, it really is a one-pot meal. That it may seem like a lot of ingredients, but look, you're able to put all these ingredients in one pot at one time and just let it go. So it doesn't take a whole lot of energy. And then the thing about like this stew is rustic. So you don't have to have any particular, like, you know, cutting up these vegetables. They're no fancy cuts and dices and all that. They're just rustically cut and chopped. You want that great texture. You want all that that's going to make it filling. So I got some olive oil in the bottom of our pan, and then basically it's everybody in the pool. I got some parsnips and carrots that I've cut. Try to keep everything uniform. If nothing else, it doesn't have to be fancily cut and small diced and all that, but at least make sure that it's because there's so many vegetables. And these are all root vegetables, so they pretty much should cook about the same time frame, but you still want to make sure that they're at least all cut with similar size and uniformity. So we have parsnips and carrots. Everybody in.
Yep.
Turnips, and I would say, Lori, I kept the skin on all of these vegetables because there's a lot of nutrients. You just make sure you wash them really well and rinse them well. But I left the skin on. I didn't peel the carrots. I didn't peel the parsnips or the turnips because I wanted to one, add as much flavor into this, and then also keep the nutritional value with all of these root vegetables.
Yes, that's so good. I mean, the turnips are B6, folate, copper, and of course, high in fiber. A good source of copper matters. I don't think we talk about that very much, but copper combined with iron, it enables the body to form red blood cells. And that's huge for energy and just feeling generally well. And so turnips, anywhere you can find a place for a turnip in your diet would be a beautiful choice. We also know that like that copper component that you get from the turnips, it helps prevent osteoporosis. There's a combination of mechanisms there that copper is instrumental in keeping your bones dense. And so that's a big concern for a lot of people. So I know, right? I mean,
like who would have known that you could get that, or one, that turnips would be a good source of copper.
Right?
And then to hear, that's the first time I've heard how copper benefits you in those type of ways.
Well, that's what I shoot for. I shoot to talk about the things that we don't like have jumping at us all the time. I mean, like with rutabaga, good source of potassium, calcium, magnesium, vitamin E, vitamin C. We kind of know that those things are important, those vitamins and minerals, but like copper in particular is like with the turnip, that's a good source of that. Well, why does that matter?
Right.
And so those two things are greatly benefited by having a turnip in your diet.
Wow.
Yeah, the parsnip, high in fiber again, which is always a good thing, but they're an antifungal. So if you have anything going on that would, be challenging your immune system kind of on a chronic low level, sometimes funguses do that. The parsnip is going to support you, which I think is, like this stew, putting those together, having that all come together in the liquid. You're going to consume the liquid too. Nothing is wasted. We're still going to have potatoes and carrots, the things that we're familiar with, which are good for us. We know
Right.
that the carotene from the carrot, improved eye health. Potatoes are still, full of vitamin C, still really good for you. Good, you left the skin on, so they're high in fiber as well. I do want to kind of compare the rutabaga to a potato just a little bit, just so maybe you could go rutabaga heavy and a little less potato if these things appeal to you. With the rutabaga, you get 51 calories and 12 grams of carbohydrates per cup, and a potato is 136 calories, so more than double the calories and 31 grams of carbohydrate. So if your concern is around your blood sugar and keeping your insulin and glucose ratios in a healthy range, rutabaga is going to serve you way better than a potato. I'm not saying potatoes are bad. I'm just saying a little mix of the less calorically, less carbohydrate dense vegetable would serve you, because it's going to provide a bulk of food, tons of vitamins and minerals, just like the potato would, but for fewer carbs. So that's important to a lot of people.
The rutabaga.
Right.
Yep. My grandmother, I'm used to some rutabaga because my grandmother used to make some like mashed rutabaga.
Mhm.
Never had heard of a rutabaga, but she cooked some off and then mashed it, and it was really, really good.
Yeah.
But we're gonna dice this like almost uniform as everything else. So what you guys didn't see is I put the shallots and leeks in here. So these are all nice, rich winter seasonal ingredients. These root vegetables, the leeks, the shallots, like all of these together. And you don't realize, like, especially like the parsnips, shallot, all these vegetables, there's natural sweetness to this that's going to come out. So it's a balanced dish because there's natural sweetness that's coming out. I did sprinkle a little bit of salt in here as these things are cooking, because that's going to bring out any extra moisture, which is going to get us some caramelization. That caramelization, of course, is the release of sugars. So it's going to balance out really nice, a little bit of sweetness to these vegetables. And like this smells wonderful already. Just these vegetables and these leeks and shallots in there. The one thing about leeks, I just want everybody to know, when you have leeks, here's one part that I didn't cut. One, I try to cut up as much as the dark green part. That part, even though it's edible, it's not recommended because the dark green part of the leeks are more bitter. So you really only want to use the white and the light green part. Now that's different than like when you're using, like, say, a green onion. Green onions, usually people use more of the darker green and lighter green, and they don't use as much as the white part. Leeks, you want to use the white and the light green part. That's where you're going to get really good flavor. And so the other thing is that when you're dealing with leeks, you want to make sure that you have fully cleaned them and rinsed them properly. The best tip to cleaning leeks and making sure you're getting on any grit and grime, because there's many layers in the leeks. So there could be sand and dirt and grit that could be in between those layers. So the best thing to do is go ahead, you have your leek, tall, long, cut it in half, long ways, cut the root end off, and then you'll be left with something like this. Go ahead and cut your dark green part off. Now you could use and eat that dark green part. You kind of have to kind of cook them long to kind of cook out some of the bitterness, but or use it in a stock to make a veggie stock. I would save it and use that for that. But the rest of the usable part, I would go ahead and kind of cut it into slices, put it in a bowl of cold water. So now all your rings are able to separate. You're able to take your hands in what we call agitate. So you're able, any dirt, grit, and all that's going to fall to the bottom. Then you're going to toss them in a colander or so, rinse them again, and then you should be able to, and dry them well. That's the key, dry them well. Then you should be able to have really nice leeks that you don't have to worry about any extra grit and grime. All right, so I'm getting some nice caramelization on our carrots and our turnips, and what else we have in our parsnips. It smells wonderful, and we haven't even added any seasoning. Now we're gonna add our rutabaga, and I could have added that in with everything else, but we'll add our rutabaga in there. And then we'll add our potatoes. And like I said, it's literally kind of like everybody in the pool. You let this saute a little bit and then let it cook down. You have a nice, like my grandfather, this is different vegetable soup than my grandfather would make. You know, the old vegetable soup that has peas and carrots and green beans and all that kind of stuff in there. A little different vegetable soup, but this is going to be full of flavor and, of course, full of nutrients, like we mentioned. So
I
that
think it's interesting how they chose the orange zest to go. I don't know that I necessarily would have put that with this kind of stew. I think it'll work, but it was a little surprising.
yes, it is. I was quite surprised. I'm just adding some celery in for anybody who's like, what was that? What was that? So adding in some chopped celery, because any super stew can't be a super stew without some celery and carrots. And we're not having onions in there because we have the shallots, but yeah. And then as these things saute a little bit, I'm going to deglaze. Oh, I'm sorry. We need some garlic, because you can't have this without garlic. Garlic, rough chop on the garlic. I haven't added it in prior to, because we don't want our garlic to burn and therefore become bitter. So some minced garlic, adding flavor. And like I said, if you notice, we haven't added a lot of salt, because all these ingredients are really going to add to the flavor and built into this. Garlic. And then we will add our herbs. So we have some marjoram, and you may not be, but we have some ground marjoram. Marjoram is likened to oregano.
Mhm.
It's actually in the mint family, but it's in the, it's very similar to oregano. Marjoram, some fresh thyme.
Okay, so do you think about this like in these terms, Chef, marjoram to like that Scottish, Irish flavor, the way oregano is to Italy and the way cumin
Yes,
is to Spain?
that's exactly.
Like that's how I always line those up in my head, but I wondered if I was crazy.
Kind of like za'atar is quote unquote an Italian, what do they call that? Italian blend, such as in Italian food, like in, so it's like the same thing, but in a different culture.
Yes, exactly.
And then we have some fresh rosemary. Rosemary. I love fresh rosemary, like the fragrance. And the thing is, you can add these, and if you notice, I literally just have some fresh, and I'm just taking my fingers and just moving them right down, and all these, the thyme and the rosemary, they're coming right off. And then you don't have to worry about any extra stems. So we have those fresh herbs. Oh, that just took this to a whole nother level. Those fresh herbs in there. And of course, we got all this flavor now that's been caramelized on the bottom. We got some nice white wine. Of course, you don't have to have white wine, but when I was growing up, the Cajun chef, he'd be like, a little wine for you and a little wine for me. So yes, I loved him. I tell people all the time, I tell my age because I always talk about growing up and watching cooking shows on PBS, and they're like, PBS? What? Why weren't you watching Food Network? Well, there's no such thing as Food Network.
Okay.
I watched Julia Childs and Jacques Pepin and Justin, the Cajun chef. Watched them on Iron Walk before it was a Food Network show. I used to watch all that PBS as I always was meant to be a chef because I was enamored by those shows, even though I was on my way and wanted to grow up and be a veterinarian.
Okay, so chef, is that guy you're talking about, the Cajun chef? Did he say onion?
Yes, cayenne peppers and onions.
I remember then. I remember, even though I'm sure you're way older than me.
Not way older.
No, I'm older than you.
And then lastly, I'm going to add our potatoes and chickpeas. So this is a fully, I mean, like, it seems like a lot of ingredients, but look at everything that's in this stew that, I mean, you got parsnips, you have rutabaga, turnips, potatoes, carrots, chickpeas. It's fully loaded. It could be a great lunch, a great dinner. I mean, you don't even need anything else in this particular stew. Chickpeas, source of protein.
Chef, you're
Yeah.
breaking up. You're breaking up. We can't hear you.
Uh-oh, can you guys hear me now? Can you hear me now? Oh, wait.
You know. I think you're back. Nope, you're not back.
We can't hear you, chef. Technical difficulties, guys.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
All right, I'm back. So I added some tomato paste because a good stew, you got to have a little bit of the tomato in the background. So we got some tomato paste, and then we'll add our vegetable broth to finish it out. And then you just let this finish. Like I said, all you're doing at this point is cooking the potatoes till they're tender, and you're really ready to go. Like, it won't take long at all to finish out. You have all those great flavors in there. We've added our stock, and we'll just let this simmer. And then you can adjust your seasonings from there. So let this finish over on the stove.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
Have you ever heard of this dashi kombu or kombu?
Say that again.
It's seaweed, dried seaweed, kombu. I have a cancer fighting cookbook,
Mhm.
and the broth, the soup that you're talking about, the veggie soup, I make into a veggie broth, and it's recommended to use this stuff, which is just weird, I'm telling you. But it adds a really nice, warm, like umami flavor to
I
the
could
broth.
imagine that it would. So I don't
And-
think that
And
would
it's
hurt.
supposed to be real good for you.
I don't think that would hurt to be even able to have something like that, because that seaweed has a lot of really great nutrients in it, and like you said, also adding an umami flavor profile to that. So I don't think that would hurt at all. And that's the thing about, any of these recipes and things like that. Now, we added all these vegetables to it, and maybe you're like, okay, that's a little overwhelming, or that's too much, or whatever the case may be. You can adjust that. Maybe you can't find a rutabaga, or you don't like rutabaga, then omit it. Maybe you want to add some sweet potatoes. This is all root vegetables that would still be good in this this soup, or stew, I should say. or if I was Rachel Ray, I'd say a stoop. So, so we have all that in, and so then the next thing is the topping to this. And like Lori said, I did find this kind of thing to add this to it. Especially a orange gremolata. Now I've made gremolatas before. I've made a lemon gremolata or so, and it's been a gremolata is really like an Italian condiment in a sense. You can add it. I've had it added on seafood or things of that nature. But to add it to garnish a stew is a little different. But it could add a really nice balance to it all. And all a gremolata is we take the zest of a citrus, in this case an orange, and some parsley and garlic, and some salt and olive oil, and it's literally like a condiment, almost like a pesto per se, without the pine nuts.
I think it's something you'd want to dip a chunk of bread in.
Yeah, I don't see. I don't have that in our recipe. So I got some orange zest, and of course, whenever you're zesting, always make sure you keep rotating your citrus and not zest out any of the orange part. That's bitter. I'm sorry, not the orange part.
The white part.
The white part.
Yes, we knew what you-
We're zesting an orange. So we have orange zest, got cloves of garlic, and we'll just do a rough chop there. We can get out a pesto mortar and make this also in there too, would be great, because that's, like I said, it's an Italian type of condiment, so that's normally what they would use as a pesto mortar to be able to do make this. So you have to sing like an Italian.
But we've got more parsley like in our cheese, so we know about the powerful antioxidant components with that. Garlic, medicinal properties left and right. And then the orange zest is going to work like a flavor enhancer for all of those warm vegetables.
That's what I take, like, adding citrus to anything is really going to bring out more of the flavor. Like I said, I was, orange, which I could see with some of those root vegetables, really will enhance the whole thing, but different.
Staying in the sweeter, warmer. I can see it working probably a little bit better if you included sweet potatoes in the stew.
Yeah. So we got that, a little salt, and then a little olive oil. Slide some oil to me, let it trickle down my spine. Let it move. And just in a little bowl, just like that, you have what we call like a little condiment. So it's something, and you can make a gremolata, like I said, topping for chicken. You can use lemon, you can use orange, you could use lime. So it's really, like we said before, once you learn the technique of a thing, so a gremolata is typically some type of citrus, garlic, parsley, olive oil, salt. And it's just that easy. So we'll put that to the side for when our stew gets done, and we'll start on our Shamrock shake. Shake, 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 Sonora, shake, right. Work, 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 Sonora, work.
So our
Harry Belafonte.
jack of all trades. He's a singer, cook. The Feel Good Shamrock Shake, I think, is pretty cool. The matcha tea is going to be in there. It's high in a catechin called EGCG. So that stands for epigallocatechin gallate. So the reason I chose this is for the cancer fighting effects of that catechin. So I don't know how many people use matcha and have found a use for it, but this, I know it's called a green shamrock shake, but this could be a smoothie that you make anytime,
Any given time, yeah.
right? It isn't going to be like a, you know, what we think shamrock shake, God forbid, right? So I'm excited for you guys to try this and taste it because I think it's going to be really good and so, so good for you.
Oh, taste and see.
Whoever's there in the office, I would like to know who's going to try this one. Like
So
he
we're
should.
gonna have Darlene here, and if Angie's still around,
Okay.
oh, she's gone. So Darlene will be our wonderful taste tester.
Okay, good.
What a job you have, Darlene. I know it's a hard job, but somebody's got to do it.
But you have to remember that there is caffeine in this shake. So actually, I feel like it would be better for a morning smoothie.
Yes.
So tell her not to go overboard or she won't get a good night's sleep.
So very simple because let's check in on our cheese. And it's getting there. All right, so we are going to make a smoothie. Everybody's made a smoothie, hopefully, possibly. So this is really simple, nothing more, nothing less, but really flavorful and really good. So we have some bananas that we've peeled and frozen. So add our bananas. And this is just one banana chopped up, frozen. And of course, it's better to freeze it peeled.
Right.
And
I made
then
that mistake.
Right. And then we're going to add about a cup of we have some almond milk, but you can use coconut milk. So a little bit of almond milk. And then I made some almond ice cubes. That is because for a smoothie, you want that nice frozen type of feel to this, a nice smooth. So instead of adding ice cubes to it that can water this down, I just made some ice cubes out of the almond milk. So it's going to keep with the nice creamy texture, but still give it as that nice kind of frozen drink type of texture. You could also use some non-dairy yogurt, so some almond yogurt or so, if you want to add that in here too. But I figured to keep a level of consistency by doing so. So we have our almond ice cubes. And then we have our matcha. I don't know why I'm in a singing mood today. So we have our matcha, and we're just going to add a little bit now, depending on how ripe your banana is. Any sugar like that, add any sugar in there because your banana, if you have a nice ripe one, is going to add a little sweetness to that. So we have that. We'll add everything in the pool. And
How many tablespoons of matcha did you put?
how many?
Was it a table or a teaspoon?
It's a teaspoon, well, like a half a teaspoon. Like Lori said, I mean, there's caffeine, so you don't want to.
That's so little. You could hardly taste the matcha for half a teaspoon. I use matcha tea a lot, so I know how it tastes.
Do you like
Of course, you can up or
I
lower.
love matcha.
More matcha. and we will start.
Is that what the recipe calls for, or can I use like a tablespoon of matcha?
you know what? Let me look at the recipe specifically. Hold on.
Yay, we have smoothie. And just like that, Nice. I mean, and it's very simple. Like I said, easy ingredients. Lori already mentioned that it's got a little bit of caffeine. So instead of your coffee, instead of your daily coffee, you could have this smoothie, whether it's March or not. That'll be a lot more beneficial to you in your next Starbucks. Even though I think they have quote unquote a type of Shamrock green smoothie something.
But
I know.
It has 31 grams of added sugars to it.
Wow.
Yeah, I looked at that because I wanted to have a comparison.
See, so how beneficial is that for you?
Yeah. So I read the recipe does call for a half a teaspoon, but depending on your preference, I think it would be totally fine to do more.
So we just top that with a little whipped topping. You can use a coconut whipped topping or so, just as an extra. You don't have to. You can just drink it straight with no issues from there. But this is a really good. It'll be a nice but healthier with that matcha in there. Great color. And if you don't have matcha, of course, you can use some type of like leafy green to give it that green color and still get some really great nutrients in there. But really, like I said, having the banana, using that non-dairy milks, whether it's almond or coconut milk, I think even a cashew milk would be great.
Yeah. Or oat milk.
Or oat milk, yeah. And like I said, one of the keys was that I froze and made some ice cubes out of it so that you don't have to worry about it watering down or anything like that. So you're able to get that smoothie texture, losing any nutrients and then losing any of the in the whole thing. But probably the simplest smoothie that you could really make with some easy ingredients.
Yeah, definitely.
And Irene says, I mean, if you're not familiar or used to matcha, you might have to, we got, unless you really like it, it calls for, maybe that's not enough. So you want to put a whole teaspoon, but you'll still get a lot of nice flavor from that. And of course, caffeine. So I'd be careful that you add in there.
How about instead of matcha, can you use a moringa powder?
Yeah, I think moringa or spirulina.
Spirulina, yeah, I was thinking spirulina. Either one. It's a good vehicle for any of those, really.
Oh, wow. It's really good.
Good.
And that banana, because it was a decently ripe banana, it wasn't overly ripe. It has a nice sweetness to it because so you don't have to add any extra, sweeteners to it.
And I think with the coconut whip on there, that's really pretty. It kind of feels like a celebration on St. Patty's Day.
It's a celebration.
Celebration in my book.
Check our stew here. While our stew is finishing, we'll show you guys and let you get back to your evening. We'll show you guys our I just checked our cheese. So our cheese is almost there. We'll make a quick grilled cheese. So I have our bread here. I'm not going to use any butter. You could use some vegan butter or vegan mayonnaise. I have some avocado oil.
Nice.
And I'm just going to spritz on there. Keep it clean. Some avocado oil. Gives it a nice golden brownness. And that's something I would recommend, like if you have any of your type of oils, whether it's an olive oil or grapeseed oil, anything like that, it comes in the container, but get you a little spray bottle. Now this actually was a Pam avocado oil, but get you a little spray bottle that you can get from anywhere, and put some of your oil in there, because then it helps when you're coating things, and you don't have to worry about overusing any of your oil, and you can have your own spray oil. Yeah. All right, I don't want this to be too high. Grilled cheese. Who doesn't like? I was just talking to my sister about this the other day. Who doesn't like? That's what I had for dinner the other day, was grilled cheese with smoked Gouda. Smoked Gouda and cheddar.
And some tomato soup.
I'm not a tomato soup fan. I know. Wait, I didn't say that out loud. I know that's almost blasphemy.
I love tomato.
I know that's an American, that is a true American combination. And I make a good tomato soup or roasted tomato basil soup. I'm just not a fan of it.
You're allowed. You're allowed.
The way Darlene gasped just a minute ago when I said that. My grandfather loved a good tomato soup too. He loved it, and he'd have it with a sandwich, but I'm just never been a fan. I don't know why. I'm not sure. And with it not being dairy in it, Darlene asked if you have to keep this bread refrigerated or anything.
Yeah, you should. It stays better longer.
Oh, yes, it does. Once open, refrigerate air tightly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jack Coolidge is wondering if you'd like to go get some Skyline chili.
You know, Jack, I finally had some Skyline. My son loves it, and I tried to figure out why, because I finally gone, and I was like, okay, there's nothing to write home about this.
No.
No, can't say. I went one time, and I haven't been since.
We'll put it in there, same category as tomato soup for you.
And maybe because it's sweet, and that just really threw me off.
Yeah.
Like sweet chili. I've judged quite a few chili cook-offs, and I had several sweet chilies, and it's one of those things that if I taste a sweet chili, you're probably automatically not going to be in the, don't have me judge it, because you're automatically out of the running.
Well, at least you tried.
But at least I tried it. That's all I can say. I tried it.
There you go.
So we have our cheese, and if you notice, it's really spreadable. I'm just spreading it on our bread. And I don't have a tomato. I wish I had a tomato. I'd put a slice of tomato on there. Nice and toasted. Toast it really nicely. Hey, Bert. Like I said, you could take some like alfalfa sprouts or something like that and put in there. And ooh. Voila. Uh-oh. We have a nice piece of bread. Let me see. We have our, nobody would know, nobody knows. But I see, nobody knows my sorrow. Yeah, nice toasted bread with this nice smooth vegan smoked Gouda cheese. Well, you guys can't see, but long.
Which I think will go really nicely with the stew.
Exactly. And our matcha tea or matcha shamrock shake.
There you go.
Let's check our stoop. Yes. Smells wonderful. It's great herbs. Perfect. Frothy. So we have our nice soup. It has all these nice vegetables in there, that really nice broth. We'll take some of our gremolata. And we'll just add it to the top. And we have our Irish stew. I'll show you guys.
Oh, wow. That looks so good. Beautiful.
Looks delicious.
Yeah.
So nice and hearty. Like I said, all those really great vegetables, really great flavor, and it takes no time, like I said. So this is right here, a really great meal that you could have. I mean, of course, you could have your smoothie in the morning, but you can definitely have this as a good lunch.
Yep.
I mean, that sounds like a really great lunch all within itself, and guilt-free, even though I think the amazing thing is guilt-free, even though this is what we would consider a comfort meal.
Right.
Grilled cheese and stew, that's considered a hearty meal, but all made vegetables and great nutritious ingredients. So you wouldn't have to feel bad about it.
Yep.
You might bowl of stoop.
Just a few tweaks there. You have the same flavors, the same feeling, but a ton of nutrients. So good for you.
Exactly. Any questions about anything? Everybody think that once you get the recipes, that you can make any of these at home? Like I said, none of these took a lot of time or a lot of effort. And the ingredients, definitely manageable.
If you break the sandwich apart, is the cheese stringy or stretchy?
Well, since we made a spreadable cheese, it's not
So-
necessarily stringy, but it is, I wouldn't say stretchy. Like I said, remember, it's a spreadable, so it'd be more like a spreadable cheese on your sandwich or cracker or anything like that.
Maybe just ooey and gooey.
Yeah, it's just gooey and gooey.
Oh, technical term, sorry.
Yeah. Right.
Yes, those technical terms, Ann.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Chef. That stuff looks great.
Thank you, everyone. We appreciate you joining us tonight in tonight's class. We hope that you're inspired in some way and that you try any of these recipes at any given time right in your home, that we've made them easy to be able to duplicate and worthwhile in trying in your journey of wellness. So we appreciate you all joining us tonight. Hope everyone stays safe, and join us again next week with Chef Scotty. We'll have him here and make a meal. And what's that?
Yeah, we have lots of slots still open, guys. So go sign up and
Yeah, go sign up. I cannot remember right offhand what the meal is, but make sure you sign up on the slots to pick up your meal, and then join us at 6 o'clock next Thursday to be able to see us put it together, and you're able to taste it all at the same time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, all of you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
It takes a village over there, doesn't it?
Yes. Yes.
I know.
All right, the recipe will